Hey, come on in. Did you bring coffee? In that case, you are forever my friend. Oh yeah, the judgment was still out on that one. Until now. Now you're my forever friend. Come on in. Thank you for doing this with me, by the way. Oh, well, what we're doing is redesigning my sewing room. I found a few Discord servers for sewing, and people hang out, they chat, and they get on cam and share their projects. They give each other tips, or they just sit and chat while they're getting their things done. So I kind of wanted to participate. But in order to participate like that, I need to have room on the other side of this sewing cabinet for a camera, and I also want it to point to a pretty wall. Yes, I'm all a facade. So these are going to go up on the wall behind me, and this has to be pulled out, and I want to get this wall painted. Yeah, that's it. Just make it pretty. I want to make it look like I've always had a better aesthetic than just plain white walls. What spurred it on? Well, partly just because we're so remote that there aren't a lot of sewing classes and there are really no sewing groups, and that's the best way to learn. Watching YouTube, taking classes online, they're all great, but if I make a mistake, a lot of times I won't know about it until I'm trying to put everything together at the last part, and then I'm like, oh, I did this wrong. If I can have somebody taking a look at what I'm doing as I'm doing it, they might be able to catch me at the beginning and save me a whole lot of stitch picking starting over. Or they might have an easier way to do things that I never thought of before, never heard of before. But mostly I've done it because I have found myself eating more junk food, frankly. Oh well. We all have our addictions, and salty chips are mine. What does it have to do with sewing? That is a good question. And, unsurprisingly, it begins with a history lesson, my dear. You're so patient with me. Okay, so we've all heard about those experiments they do with rodents where they'll give rats or mice 2 bottles, one with water and another with water and some other drug. And again and again and again, rodents that become addicted to that drug will just stick to that bottle until they starve themselves to death, right? They just won't do anything else. They'll just latch onto that bottle. That's the only thing they want, is that drug. That type of experiment has been used again and again to show how addictive different drugs are, and also to show that there might be a genetic element to addiction, which actually now we know because there are genetic markers that we can see. Back when these experiments were first being done, though, it was just a hypothesis. But then in the 70s, along comes this guy who says, hang on, you're not giving them anything else to do. Of course they're just going to sit there and tap, tap, tap on that one dispenser and get that drug because they have nothing else to do. So he creates the Rat Park. This place is a utopia for lab rats, right? It's got like 200 times the amount of floor area that their cage had. And they've got food, they've got wheels, they've got places to play with other rats. They have other rats to play with, and they have other rats to play with, right? So it's just this lab rat Valhalla. And it also has water bottles placed all around the cage. And where there's a water bottle, there's also a bottle that has water and some drug in it. And immediately, They saw a difference in how often the rats would go to that drug water. When they were in a single cage by themselves in a small space with nothing to do, they were 19 times more likely to try that drug and become addicted to it. But the rats in this rat park, they had better things to do. They would try the drugged water, but then they would just go back to playing. The scientist doing the experiment even sweetened the water, thinking that maybe it's the taste that's putting them off, right? No, it just didn't appeal to them. It was the feeling of being stoned that they didn't want. They didn't want anything that was going to interfere with their socialization. After some time of establishing that the rats were well and truly not interested in the opioids, he started adding naloxone to the drugged water. Naloxone counters the effects of opioids. Suddenly, the rats start drinking that sweet water because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't stop them from interacting with their friends. So this scientist proved that while there may be a genetic element to whether or not you're more likely to become addicted, it's really more about your cage. It's more about if you have access to other people and if you can socialize. And now with that information in mind, pull the lens back. As a species, people are more often in their one rat cages than they used to be. We no longer have to sit in a room with another person in order to work, in order to go to school. Let's face it, we don't even need to be in the same room with another person anymore in order to hook up with them. Once upon a time, if I wanted to learn how to patch a hole in drywall, I had to either have someone show me or I would have to go through a lot of trial and error. Now I just look up a YouTube video. I don't even have to reach out to human beings to learn new skills. Like sewing. People used to have sewing circles where they would get together with their sewing and the mending, and they would chat and socialize and sew together. They would share their tips and tricks, and they would share their gossip. I mean, that's harder to do with a sewing machine, I'll admit. But don't tempt me. I have a sewing machine case with wheels on it. I can go. But with all of these lessons online, there aren't as many groups getting together to do that sort of thing anymore. It's hard to find, especially if you live kind of remotely. Yeah, being online does close the gap. It's nice to be able to just hang out with somebody and turn the camera on what you're doing and show them. It's not as easy. It's not as convenient. It does help. But the problem is it's also a very curated view that we get of each other. Nobody has to walk through my house in order to see my sewing, right? So they don't have to be met with this beautiful living room and dining room that is clean and shining and sparkling, and see how it gets progressively messier as you get to the den and then the office and then the bedrooms where the beds aren't made. Nobody sees all of me. I mean, you do. But it can leave you feeling like you're afraid for them to see who you actually are. Like you've put up this front, and that's who they think you are, and that's who they like. But if they really got into your house and saw the unmade bed, they wouldn't like you as much. So that's why being online helps close the gap, but it's not quite enough. Oh, no. I can see how you got that idea. But no, I didn't ask you over to help me set up the sewing room so that I could socialize with people online. I asked you over to help me with the sewing room so that I could socialize with you. You're the person that I was, I guess what I'm saying is that, you are my rat Valhalla. Yeah, I've always had a way with the compliments. Seriously, you should hear my insults. Hey, you cupcakes, I hope you enjoyed that one off. To answer your questions before you ask, I absolutely wrote that entire script so that I could use the words, "You are my rat Valhalla." That was it. That was the end goal. That was the entire reason that I wanted to write that script. So now you have a little insight into how my mind works. Really, it's not thoughts in there so much as carnival music. Thank you all for your time and attention. I don't do this often enough, but if you haven't subscribed, please click that button. It helps me out, and it also helps YouTube know what you like. And I've got something for you that you're going to like. My friend Zena Alexander has come out with a fourth, well, she's come out with merch, and it is fabulous. Her merch all just says, "I'm not sus, I'm convicted." And I'm going to link to her stuff in my channel, because in my description, because it is so funny and it is so fabulous and it deserves to be shared. Oh, and you know what? Speaking of friends, I got to meet and hang out with, well, virtually, with Lacey from Lacey Audios, and holy smokes, she is so funny. She is so charming. She is so wonderful. She's so clever. I know that I have a lot of people who listen to both of us, and if you're not, you should be listening to her. She is so, so brilliant. I've known about her for a while, and I've known people who knew her, but like she and I have like never chatted. We might have like been in the same conversation once or twice in Discord or something like that, but we never really had conversations. And I loved getting to know her. And I'm going to link to her as well in my description, because if you're not following her, you should. You will thank me. She does a lot of really toxic girlfriend stuff. So she yells at people a lot. But when it comes to people we yell for as opposed to yelling at, there is Lucien Trudeau and Blake who have joined my patrons. So thank you guys. And of course, much thanks to my very special bakers and pound cakes. There's Nosti, Rogue Scholar, Barry Wilburn, Estede, Anon, Harper Evolution, Wolf 9004, Vile Mouse, Succubus Slave, Malice Silo, Army Guy 007, Mr. Fabulous, Bunny, Tiny the Taxman, Meryl, Inline Flaws, Mr. Rickles, Onin, Red Death 48, Always Able, Moon, Old Bean UK, Kahlua Bear, Forces, The Swaggy Llama, Cody, Art Low, Pierce Tailish, This Guy, and Christian Cleopatra. Once again, thank you all so much for your time, your attention, your likes, your shares, your comments, your subscriptions, and just all your kind words and thoughts and wishes. I hope you are all as good to yourselves as you are to me. I will talk to you tomorrow.